Hello, everybody, excuse me. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. It's still morning here in the Chicago area, and it is cold. We had some nice warm weather last weekend, and this weekend has been just downright cold and wet and rainy. And I don't know, this weekend would probably been a good weekend to actually do my trip to the Disney outlet store that's north of here. It's about halfway in between Milwaukee and Chicago in a place called Gurney. There's a Disney store. It's just marked a Disney store, but it's an outlet. The first half is pretty much your traditional Disney store with that type of merchandise that you would find in pretty much any Disney store. The back half is mostly stuff from Disneyland. Disneyland clearance items that they weren't able to sell in their park. So they had to clear it out and they ship it across the country. There are a few Disney World stuff. I noticed some NBA finals gear in there as well, but it's by and large mostly Disneyland. Disney World usually just sends their outlet merchandise to character warehouses in Florida. There's 3 locations there, so those are really not sent this far north. As far as I know, I'm not really aware that there are character warehouses for Disneyland, so that's why the Disneyland merchandise is sent to places like Illinois. And actually, this is my first thing. It's a Disneyland Spirit jersey. Oh, little piece of fuzz on there. It's just a traditional, like double stripe. I have the Disney World version in, I forget what color. This is an olive green. But the Disney World version I have is like a deeper red. It has Disneyland Resort at the back. So I have actually 2 Disneyland Spirit jerseys, 1 Disney World Spirit jersey plus a Pride Rainbow Collection short sleeve, as well as Buzz Lightyear version 1.0. So my Spirit color. Today's a perfect day for a Spirit jersey, by the way, in this area. But I'm liking the color. I'm liking the fit. And it was only about $25. Limited selection. They did have the Disneyland Pixar, World of Pixar. But again, they're all smalls and mediums. For the most part, they had ink and paint for Disneyland. They had 1 extra large, which my brother got, but the rest were like larges, mediums, and smalls. I think there was pink, lavender. They had the balloons, tie-dye. Again, all the ones that I would definitely want. A lot of the ones I would definitely want, but again, more numerous in the smaller sizes. But you know what? You can't go wrong with the $25 Spirit jersey. Like, actually, I got like 5 or 6 things there, but I still spent less than the cost of a full price Spirit jersey there. Less than $60 for all the stuff that I got, including this hat. It's a plain Disneyland hat. It is a cloth clasp on the backing right there. $7. Normally, so $20 off. Rainbow Disneyland. Pretty simple hat, but again, they had a few hats that were like this, but this was. I thought this was pretty cool with the whole rainbow. Rainbow is kind of my thing. So item number 2. I'm just kind of like, we're gonna start off with a merch haul here. The rest were surprise pins. Now, I actually got this mug I'm about to show. I actually got off of shopdisney.com. It's not part of the haul, but they did have the trinket trays. Those $15 trinket trays, which they were much smaller than I anticipated. I almost got the Matterhorn one, but I wouldn't have had any use for it because it was so small. In honor of May the 4th, this was actually Star Wars Galaxy's Edge pins. These are normally $30. You can see this is kind of like the clearance tags that they use. $9.99, $20 off. For again, these booster sets go for about 30, anywhere from 25 to $35, pretty much. This one is $30. And in fact, I think this was was this duly priced or no? No. Okay, so they just put it on. All right. But this is from Galaxy's Edge. Booster pin set. You've got some playing cards right here. I believe that they are from the Millennium Falcon. You got Black Spire Outpost pin with the Millennium Falcon right there. The never tell me the odds. Famous quote right there. Again, Millennium Falcon and the pilot pin. Booster set of 4 from Galaxy's Edge. Now, I don't actually remember seeing this the first time I went inside Galaxy's Edge, which actually was at Disneyland back in November of 2019, a couple months before the shutdown. And my brother claims he did see these pins. So these pins were probably opening day. I think Galaxy's Edge opened in August of 2018, right? So this booster pin set was probably an opening day pin set in California. Oh no, this was May. My bad. It was August for Florida. But or May or June, I can't remember. But these were probably an opening day item that you could get in Galaxy's Edge. Because with these booster pin packs, they usually sell them for much longer than a year, or much longer than a year. In fact, some of the pin sets and pin mystery pins, for instance, I've seen set there for a couple of years now. So this was probably likely not to have been retired initially, or had to have been retired before the start. So this is, I would have to look at it. This is pin tree. It doesn't have actually the year on it, but on the main one, the card, which also kind of tells me that this was meant to be sold for more than just 1 year. And in fact, this says 2019 on it. So totally. If you look at the back, got the Galaxy's Edge logo, the FAC number, and this is 2019. So again, this was probably meant to be sold for right about a year, maybe even longer. I've seen pin sets that even have 2018, 2017 birthday box pins, for instance. So this definitely could have been opening day or close to opening day, but they decided we're not making these anymore. Cleared them out. But yeah, $10. The next thing, this is not from my haul from the Disney outlet, but I got this on Shop Disney, 2020 pin for Fantasia, the 80th anniversary. This is one of 4. This is actually the 4th of 4. And it's, I believe, the Henrietta Hippo with, I forget what these animals are here, but I think you got alligator here. Hello, welcome. But one of the classic Fantasia scenes. Again, they were selling two of the 4 sets on Shop Disney, and I forgot what the other one was, but I didn't like it. This one was probably my favorite one. Of course, I'm assuming one of 4 was probably the Mickey or Sorcerer Mickey. But yeah, iconic movie. Very, very, very weird movie because it's a set of classical pieces and you animated stories to them, which innovative and definitely not what you would think about a Disney movie. They tried it again in about what? This is 2020, 80 years, 60 years later, 60 years between the original and the sequel. Semi-sequel, I guess, because you had Sorcerer Apprentice in both. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah. It's a fun movie. It was one of my favorite movies growing up, especially because it was Sorcerer Mickey. That was the only part that we actually really watched was Sorcerer Mickey and the Sorcerer's Apprentice. But there's the front side of the pin. Put it back on the card in a second. The back side. Now this it's limited release, not limited edition. It has the FAC, has the Disney logo on it. I don't think this was really meant for Disney parks. I think it was meant for the stores and Shop Disney. But you got the Fantasia 80 years logo, not 80th anniversary. They're calling 80 years. And there's no Mickey Waffle on the back. So if you're looking for this pin or trading for this large pin, and you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't have the waffle pattern. I got this off of Shop Disney. Not all pins nowadays do have that waffle pattern. This one does not. And I think it's just because of the amount of stuff that's on the back. But yeah, this I did get off of Shop Disney. I actually do have one more pin coming today, later on today, which I'm excited to show you guys on a future stream. Now, again, if you go back to these ones here, these are 2019 pins. I'll show you the back of the pilot one. There's a pilot one again up close. And then on the back, again, you got the 2019 official pin train logo, Lucasfilm copyright, FAC, and the Galaxy's Edge. But it does have the waffle pattern. But these are open edition, or were open edition. And again, usually if it's in the outlet store, they're not making them anymore. But I could have totally seen this being something that they're still selling in the parks right now. But Disneyland, they cleared it out and sent it across country, or maybe they had too much. So it'll be interesting to see if any of my friends in Florida, if this booster pack is still out there. If it is, you can get it cheaper, not at Disneyland or Disney World. This is going to be a more Disney World heavily themed show today. It's going to be a little bit on the shorter end too. This one, the price tag was originally up here, so that's why it's a little bit damaged. But it's a hotel pin. I now have every hotel I've stayed at Disney World property pin, Disneyland Hotel. My brother actually got this pin for full price. I got it for $4 at the Disney outlet. Again, the pin selection was very limited, which honestly I would expect. So I'm assuming Disneyland Hotel. I believe I did remember seeing an article on WDWNT about the WDW News Today, which on their Disneyland side of their website, that their article or an article where they did replace and update this pin. So anytime like I'm fully expecting to go back within another month or two and seeing update if Paradise Pier opens, which actually Paradise Pier will be opening soon, whether or not they update that pin and ship them off to Illinois. But yeah, this is actually a very good pin. And again, $4 plus tax, obviously. Now, the last one I've showed on Instagram, and I think I've showed on here before, the Simba Cereal. And that was the last Simba Serial Pin that I actually saw online. And again, the pins, I'm assuming that the pins that are coming from, especially are all coming from Disneyland. So I think this is proof right here that this was actually being sold in Disneyland. This is probably one of the earlier ones, I'm guessing. I have to do a little bit of research again. But Dumbo, Timothy Circus Treats. We got Timothy Mouse on there. Now, this was really hard to read. So the top part has sweet as can be. The middle one is so good, they'll lift you up. And I think the last one on the top here says chunky peanut flavor, but the words are so, like, the letters are so illegible on this one. I probably should have looked for a different one, but I don't know, maybe they were all the same. But that's what it says at the top right there, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's your pin, Timothy's Treats. You got Timothy Mouse, Dumbo Colors, and the nutritional information at the bottom there is always the release date. So you got 10, 23, 41. So 10 calories per serving. Wow, that's for peanuts. Wow. 23, I think it's the saturated fat. 22 grams of saturated fat. Wow, that's a lot. And it has 41 servings. So 10/23, October 23rd, 1941. So, wow, that's 70 years ago? 80 years ago? 80 years ago this year, that Dumbo was released, October. So expect to see some Dumbo merchandise being released later on this year. It's not 70. Actually, no, it wouldn't be 70. It would be 80 years. But yeah, very good 3D pen. Of course, it has the little toy inside, and it's a feather. Little dangles. Now this can actually get dislodged, like the little metal loop. Not really well made, and actually my Simba charm actually fell off. I had to reattach it. But you got the peanut cereal right there. So this one, not going to go on my pin board. It's actually going to be kept in a safe spot. With this one, again, you got the word jumble. It says, unscramble the list below to find the list as treat. The other one was a word search, I think, for the Simba one, for the Lion King one. This one, delicious treats from the circus. So you got funnel cake. Took me a while for the first one. And hello, welcome. Funnel cake right there. Like, what's Kesak? Popcorn, cotton candy, pretzel, hot dog, and snow cone. All circus treats right there. And it does tell you the answers at the bottom, in case you can't figure it out. And I got peanuts, and it's like the little plastic bag. The details on this are amazing. Again, for some reason, it just doesn't like to show the feather. It's going to go backward. Right there. Start your day the Disney way. Guaranteed first. Toy surprise toy in each box. New box. Limited edition. Not actual cereal, and not an actual toy. You gotta love Disney legalese. This is normally $17. $10 off $7. So they do put limited edition pins. On display. And again, this is 2020, 104,000. Got the FAC number, and this does actually have the Mickey waffle back on here. 3D pins usually are harder to replicate because of the extra parts. You can see where they attach the feather, that toy right there. Limited edition, again, 1 of 4,000. So that means there are double the amount for, let's say, like a Flower and Garden Festival pin, limited edition. But I really do like these ones. And it was one of those things, it was the first pin that I saw. I'm like, I actually have a couple Dumbo pins. So I'm like, I need to get this because it's right up my alley. So let's see here. Spirit jersey, hat, and these 3 pin sets, again, all under $60. Six, I mean, this is 30, this is about 20, 50. These 3 pins in itself would give you $60. Or I should say, these 3 pin sets, or pins or pin sets. All this right here, what I'm holding, would normally be $60. And the Spirit jersey is almost $70. And the hat is $30, or almost $30. So we're going to like almost $200 in merchandise for under $60, which is awesome. So if you're ever in Milwaukee or Chicago, I say that because Gurney is halfway in between both Milwaukee and Chicago. Go to Gurney Mills Mall, Disney outlet there. You're going to see some pretty sweet Disneyland merchandise deals, as well as, again, some Disney store stuff. I would call it a smaller Disney store. It's probably about the same size of a standard Disney store model at your local mall. But half of it's clearance items from Disneyland. A lot of Star Wars merchandise, a lot of the t-shirt wall tees were there. They had a Hawaiian shirt style shirt, pink, but it was the trash can, Main Street trash cans, which I thought was interesting. A lot of the windbreakers for women that they post. They have the Space Mountain one, which I was gonna get, but they didn't have my size. Which again, for some of those, it's just like, I'm not a woman, but I like that design. I like Space Mountain merchandise, so hopefully they can have a little bit more unisex merchandise, especially when it comes with those windbreakers. I definitely need a new windbreaker. So it was a little bit of a drive from Chicago. Don't get me wrong; it's going to take you about an hour to get there. But it is actually right across from Six Flags Great America. So if you're planning to spend the day there, or taking a weekend trip there, because I know there are some coaster enthusiasts that do spend a day or two. There's plenty of hotels. There's actually a hotel, Starbucks. I believe there's a Cracker Barrel. On the Six Flags side, there used to be a Burger King, but not anymore. But the Gurney Mills side has an Outback, has more restaurants as well. So you can go outlet shopping and then spend your day at Six Flags. It would be a great combination. I think if I actually had a season pass and I actually knew about the Disney outlet store earlier, I would have been like, instead of going purely just for Six Flags, I would have made a stop at Gurney Mills outlet store, get some merch, and then spend my day at Six Flags, or vice versa. When you're a local, you don't really. It's the same thing for Disney World. If you're a Disney World local, a lot of times you don't go for the entire day. You go for part of the day and you do something else. So, I'm really excited for the 50th anniversary at Disney World. So let's transition over to Disney World for 1 second, and then we'll end with my thoughts on Disneyland's reopening. Just a few thoughts. Again, I'm really excited for Disney World's 50th. I talked about how that right around this time last month, actually about 3 weeks ago now, I was at Disney World for the weekend for Flower and Garden, and I had a great time. I really wanted to see how the progress of the castle decorations. And I'm impressed. They're almost done. They've actually installed the post for the 50th emblem at this point. Um, that 50th emblem, I think, honestly, I was a little bit shocked to see how quickly that emblem or the supports for the 50th emblem on the castle were up. I thought that would have come a little bit closer, but maybe there needs to be some time to kind of like harden, maybe reinforce it a little bit. Maybe they need to start. So if it isn't already up today, which I think I checked this morning, I don't think it was up this morning, but if it was, shame on me for not um, stating that. But I don't think so. Again, every morning, that's the first thing. Some people check the weather, some people check the news. I check Disney World websites for the latest on the 50th anniversary construction and all that stuff. And I just realized this is probably cockeyed because of my cord. I'm like, why is my computer? Sorry about that. But I know that they I know that they put the supports on there, and they've been repainting the transportation ticket center. I did not get to go to the transportation ticket center. I would have if there was monorail from Epcot to Magic Kingdom. I would have taken the monorail directly from Magic Kingdom to Epcot to see the progress there. But overall, I'm happy with the look of the castle. It definitely does look more 3D. Whatever, I still do think this was pared down a little bit from what they were originally going to plan to do. And if there was going to be 50th anniversary fireworks, there still could be, with the after hours Boo Bash for Halloween from August to October being announced, and then are announced later, or more details at a later date. That basically means to me, or says to me, that they're hoping that at least they could do parades or fireworks by then. But just the way that some of the like the decorations have been put on, it's gonna mess up a little bit the map projections. So my guess is that the 50th anniversary show had this in mind. So I'm guessing that it was like whatever the decorations were. Yes, I still think that they were pared down a little bit, but by not that much because the decorations are 3D in appearance. Especially on the turrets. The turrets really was surprised, but I thought it was just gonna be like flat ribbon post out. They're 3D, they're popping out. And it looks much better, especially when you have they did the whole iridescence paint, and they did the repainting with the dark deep non-iridescent blue, which I think makes the castle a whole lot better. My hope is that once the 50th celebration is over, that stupid pink paint on the castle goes away. I think what the route they should have gone was, if they're going with iridescence, make the iridescent blue, like that shiny shimmery blue, for the walls of the castle instead of the pink. And repaint the turret caps or the turret roofs. Maybe a different shade of blue. And then gold trim along the sides of each turret, of each of the square turrets, kind of like one of the projections. I think it was the Good Night projection for the holiday season. So if you look at like the castle, all the castle projections, there's one. I think this was the one at the end of the night that they only played at the end of the night, are projected onto the castle at the end of the night. Whereas all blue is kind of shiny, shimmery, and each of the corners of each of the square turrets, or I should say the more polygonal turrets. They're not really squares, are they? Those were the ones where they had the gold trim on the corners. That's a little bit more intricate detail, but I think that would have been a great anniversary castle. Maybe with just a regular gold 50th that they have. I'm not really too thrilled with the 50th anniversary logo. In general, they're calling it the world's most magical celebration. I think the most magical celebration on Earth would. I think they chose world's most magical celebration only because they don't want to copy what Disneyland did with the happiest homecoming on Earth. Which at the other parks was the happiest celebration on Earth. So there is that. But overall, again, just what I've seen with the castle and how they are using paint to refresh at least some areas of Fantasyland, and the trash is getting refreshed. It's good. It's good to see. On the other hand, well, first of all, the People Mover is back open, and it was, I think, one weekend that it was the next weekend. I was there one weekend, the next weekend it had opened up. So thank you, Disney, for not opening up a week earlier, because then I would have gone to ride it. Which there are people out there, it's like it's just the People Mover. But on a hot Florida summer day, there's not very many places to sit down. You get a 15-minute ride around Tomorrowland. You can sit down, you go through, get that unique view of Space Mountain. You get to sit down, relax, enjoy the breeze. Think of it like the Skyliner a little bit. If you've ever been on the Skyliner, you get this nice, relaxing ride around Tomorrowland. And it's something that's missed now. That was really missed. If you remember Tomorrowland in the 90s, there was so much kinetic energy. It was probably the area of the park had the most kinetic energy. Things were constantly moving. You had the Astro orbiter, the planets were swirling around, of course, and then you had like when the ride was in operation, you actually had the jets going around too. So you had that energy. Again, the People Mover moving around with people on it, looking throughout Tomorrowland. You have the Speedway bringing that kinetic energy there. Carousel Progress moves around in a circle. So things were constantly moving. And right now, the former Avenue of the Planets, which is that main entrance from the Castle Hub to Rocket Tower Plaza, you had Stitch's Great Escape / Alien Counter, which permanently closed, and right now Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which they removed the sign in the past few days. Not removed the sign, removed the cover over the sign for the attraction. So maybe they're thinking about bringing that back. But that main entrance up until last month was pretty much dead. It was just a pathway. Excuse me. I still think that they could probably do better. My guess is that if Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin ever was to permanently shut down, which it could, but it offers it's pretty similar to its Toy Story Mania cousin, in fact that you're shooting targets and targets are moving. Although Toy Story Mania is more of like a video game setup with a little pull trigger, whereas you have a laser gun, you're shooting targets, it's a more 3D environment. So it's two different versions, kind of like but the same goal. But if that attraction ever goes away, my thoughts would be that entire building would just become one one ride, which I can definitely see that. The hard part is the other side with the old Circle Vision theaters. Disney really needs to get creative, and there are still rumors that's going to be a Wreck-It Ralph video game type ride. And I don't know. Maybe they need to bring Adventures Through Inner Space back. Although it's a very small area, you wouldn't be able to really do an attraction there. You would have to eat into Cosmic Rays. Cosmic Rays would have to go away, which means that the Tomorrowland Terrace restaurant, the former Plaza Pavilion, for those of you that have been going to Disney World for 50 years, right now Tomorrowland Terrace is where the Columbia Harbor House favorites are being hosted. That restaurant would have to come back into full usage, and maybe make that into an indoor restaurant. Or come up with another creative show. Imagineering being gutted during the pandemic didn't help, and that's the amount of creativity that we're seeing from them in terms of some stuff. I don't know. It's been disappointing. All right. So those are kind of my 2 cents about what Disney World. Although checking my phone, it appears that the celebration, the Festival of the Lion King, has opened at Animal Kingdom, which is awesome. Now I want to go see. I really want to go back in because I've never seen Festival of the Lion King. So again, social distancing obviously is still in place in Florida. Masks are still in place in Walt Disney World, even though that if you stay off property, masks might not be necessary, according to the Florida governor. I do have some thoughts about that, but I will keep things positive here. Let's just say. So I'm really excited to see what goes on with that, and really excited to see that shows are returning. The parks without the shows, again, I'm not really a 100% a show person. If I had to choose a ride versus a show, for the most part, I would choose like a sit down ride. Like Everest over the Finding Nemo musical, Everest 100%. Although again, Festival Liking looks pretty awesome. If I had to go Magic Kingdom fireworks or fireworks, well, no, I would choose Magic Kingdom fireworks. That's a bad example. Let's say Fantasmic over Tower of Terror. At this point, I would probably say Tower of Terror, only because Fantasmic needs to be updated at Walt Disney World. And don't get me wrong, I think part of the reason why Fantasmic is gone because of some of the stunts. It's the stunts, and that the show elements can't be properly done. And I think they're trying to think of a way. The theater, you can have a social distance in that theater, but I think it's the stunts. And the show just needs to be updated in general. But let's go back to so I did want to bring that up with Festival of the Lion King being open. I'm excited about that. Last but not least, back to Disneyland. Disneyland Hotel is opening up at the end of June, I believe. Or no, Disneyland Hotel is still being closed. It's still closed, but at the end of June, mid-June, Paradise Pier Hotel will actually be reopening with limited capacity, which that's awesome. Now that's kind of like the farthest away from the parks, but not too far. When you're thinking, oh, that's the Far Hotel. Honestly, I think the walk from Paradise Pier to the actual main part of the resort think about it this way: if you watched my Instagram live from me walking to the Grand Floridian from the Magic Kingdom, I think it's probably that equivalent of a walk, maybe a little bit longer. So maybe it's the walk, maybe walking from like Polynesian to Magic Kingdom, or maybe kind of like the wedding pavilion area of the Grand Floridian. But it's not that far of a walk. Like everything is all contained in that one small area. But for the most part, I'm pleased to see that both Disney parks or Disney resorts are open on either coast. Hopefully, that Disneyland will start allowing out-of-state visitors really soon. Um, there's mixed guidance on whether fully vaccinated people from out of state can or cannot. I was hearing rumors that, oh no, it's only if you're a zoo can you have out-of-state vaccinated visitors, or what? Like it was really confusing to me with that. Again, something that needs to be researched a little bit more on my end. But if they do allow fully vaccinated out-of-state visitors, hopefully I can go enjoy Disneyland. Most of the rides are open. The ones that are not open, like Matterhorn, kind of surprised me a little bit, closed for refurbishment. But again, over 400 days of just being shut down, I'm not surprised that they're refurbishing the Matterhorn. Especially, again, when I was there back in 2019. When I was in there in 2018, first of all, the entire ride was shut down for a major refurbishment of the ride. And then it reopened. And then I would say August of 2019, the entire ride shut down because the cement was falling, rocks were falling, rocks, quote unquote, were falling from the Matterhorn because of water damage. So we had this trip planned in November 2020, and I'm thinking like, oh crap, here we go again. I'm not going to get to ride the Matterhorn. My brother had the same thing with Thunder Mountain when he went the first few times to Disneyland. One of them was a major refurbishment when they added all the special effects to the Disneyland version. One was just closed. I think there was two refurbishments, and then one was just closed because of mechanical issues. So he had bad luck. And then the first time he went with me in 2018, it was finally open. And he got to ride it for the first time. So his first ride on that one was my first ride on Thunder Mountain in Disneyland, which, if you had to compare the two, Disney World versus Disneyland, I'm going to tell you right now, with all the effects that they have put on the ride, Disneyland's version wins. In terms of the queue, because under non-COVID circumstances, that you have a much more interactive queue. I think Disney World would eke that one out. But the ride, they're similar roller coasters. It's just that the show effects in Disneyland are much better than ones at Disney World. But I would have to say Thunder Mountain is one of my top rides at Walt Disney World. That being said, but it's just you're comparing apples to oranges. Some people are saying comparing apples to oranges, but with Thunder Mountain, I don't know. I don't think so. I also do like Space Mountain better. Don't get me wrong, I love Space Mountain in Florida, and I actually rode it from the back for the first time in a really, really, really long while. And I've kind of changed my opinion. It's still hard for me to get out of that ride no matter what, being 6'4". But I do like the ride vehicles in Disneyland a little bit better, although I think Disneyland is maybe a little bit less intense than Florida's. I'll say that. So it's gone to give you like there are advantages to both, but and I'll leave it at that. I just want, again, getting back on track here, the whole social distance protocols. I don't think they're doing the raft ride, at California Adventure, which Grizzly River Run, which they are doing it in Florida, but I think it's probably because of COVID-19 protocols for the state of California. And I don't know. Right now, they probably don't need it. But when you get to the hot days of the summer, there are people like, why can't we go on this ride? But when if you have a water ride, the thing with water rides that get you super soaked, you have to stop in order for the disinfectant to actually work, you can't get it wet. So whenever disinfectant mixes with water, it doesn't bode all too well. I can't think of some of the other ones. Matterhorn's closed. Jungle Cruise is closed. The Storybook Canal boats, I don't think those are going to be open anytime soon, although you can get basically a tour of most of the same areas with Casey Junior Circus Train. But I think it's Jungle Cruise. And Indiana Jones actually surprised me too. Although most of the queue is front loaded, and it's just a long walk to when they added Fast Pass, most of the queue got pushed back towards the Adventureland side of things rather than the other side of the Jungle Cruise, like the actual pathway. So the merge point, I think, is a really interesting merge point for that ride. So you're mostly walking through that queue, that indoor section. But with some like the things like Mission Breakout, they're not doing the Rocket pre-show in the former Hollywood Tower Hotel library. They're not doing that, which it does provide some exposition, but at the same time, the majority of the ride experience is the same. So I don't think it distracts from too much from anything. It does set up the story, but I don't think you're missing out too much. The Haunted Mansion. Now, this is the real reason I wanted to talk about this. The Haunted Mansion. You still have the option of doing the stretching room. So there's now two lines. There's a stretching room line and a non-stretching room line. Stretching room line, of course, you're going to have a longer wait. So you're going to have the option to take the stretching room route and get the full experience, which I think is awesome that they're doing that at Disneyland, Florida. Now this exposes one of the Florida California differences. Whereas Florida, the stretching room is on the same level. Like the stretching room doesn't move; it's the ceiling that moves. In Florida, because the queue goes through the stretching room in Florida. And there's no option to get that full experience. You go to the right, otherwise you have to go I think for Florida you would have had to have this kind of roulette experience where you have the stretching room people on the right hand side do it, but then if you're not doing the stretch room, you automatically have to go to the left, and I think you get a lot of people complaining about that. So no one gets the stretch room there. But in California, the stretch room is an elevator. So you basically need some locomotion to get you down to the boarding level, basically. And you also have the issue of wheelchairs. If I remember correctly, wheelchairs can use that portion or ADA access for maybe people that don't need wheelchairs, but stairs might be harder, difficult for them. You still have that option of doing the elevator down. And people are calling this now the secret entrance to the Haunted Mansion. I can tell you, I've used that secret entrance It's not an entrance. It's an emergency exit. That hallway, I believe it links to a couple different parts of the building, but it links up to the end of the portrait hallway that connects the elevators, the stretching room, to the loading area. And when the ride breaks down, which it did for my first visit to the California Haunted Mansion, when that ride breaks down, guess what? That's the exit that they take you out of. So I've been through that as an exit, but now more guests can actually figure out, or more guests can actually experience that way, I guess. They put kind of portraits through there for the social distancing. It's much quicker. If you don't want to do the stretching room, but it's an emergency exit. It totally is. Nothing special about it. So I think, again, locals who've been on when the ride breaks down, they know that's the emergency exit. Or a lot of it appears to be just like a crypt door, a large crypt door, and then like there's crypts to the well, if you're facing that wall, there are in wall crypts to the left of it, but they're much smaller. So it's obvious that it's an emergency exit cast member entrance, which up until this year was rarely, I wouldn't say rarely used, but not too oftenly used. Or again, when the ride breaks down and you have to do a re-evac, that's where the people come out. So it's not like a secret entrance. I've used it before. It was cool. Let's just say that. Anyway, the last thing I kind of want to talk about are the two rides that I'm actually surprised to see that are open: Pirates of the Caribbean and Rise of the Resistance. First of all, Rise of the Resistance in a normal experience is listed at 18 minutes. They had to shave 3 minutes off that ride in order to meet California guidelines, which that's hard to do. That is really, really hard to do. So I kind of see this as a 3-act play. The first act is the rebel briefing room. The second act is the rebel transport ship. And the third act is the actual Rise of the Resistance ride. There is no act 1. So I'm going to go in a little bit more detail here. So if you haven't ridden it or seen anything just yet, don't want ride spoilers, spoiler alert. Although, again, it's been open in some capacity since December 2018. But there's your warning. So the first kind of like the pre-show, kind of like the stretch room, the Haunted Mansion, or the Rocket pre-show, or the library for the Mission Breakout or Tower of Terror. That's what this first room is. It's really just briefing, sending you up to why you're being taken on this ship. It does set up the story. However, I don't think it's 100. I don't think it's necessary in order to enjoy the ride. Where it's just like, okay, you're being taken. Honestly, you can just say you're being taken to the rebel base, and then some of the Star Wars characters are actually on the ship, are actually flying the ship with you, and so you can get a little bit more. I guess you don't lose that part right there. Although that is the only part of the ride I believe Rey is in. So you do lose your appearance of Rey. But every other character, every other like main character from the new franchise is there. So they're shaving some time off, although it's about a minute, so you're not dwelling in there. So for a little bit longer, I think the 18 they I don't know where they're getting the 18 minutes from the pre-show starts to when you get off that ride vehicle in the third act. That might be it. So there is some dwell time there. But if you just go straight through, um, I could definitely see some, but not all the 3 minutes. I still think it is actually about 15 more longer than 15 minutes. And then in between, excuse me, when you transition between that first and second act, there's a little bit of space. You got the ship part. You can't really trim. You can't. I'm gonna tell you this right now. They cannot pull a haunted mansion in Florida where you just go straight through that second part. It is physically impossible to do unless there's like a secret entrance where you can go around. But then you're really losing the illusion that are part of the illusion of the ride. That part is definitely necessary. They didn't cut that. Um, and if you've ever been on that ride before, you know something about that ride, um, and how things operate there. Um, so I won't give away anything about that, but it's just like, huh, what? Wait a minute. When it's one of those moments. But supposedly, when you're transitioning from the second act into the third act, when you're actually on the that that third part, there's an indoor queue there. So you must they're probably not loading as many people into there, so they can just go bam, 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 really, really, really quickly, and maybe holding people more outside so that they know you can get on the ride without waiting. So I think it's close to 15 minutes, maybe still a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but they timed it maybe like first person day. Like maybe it was enough for California to say, hey, we're good to sign this off. And then with Pirates of the Caribbean, that is about, from all things I've seen online, is 30 seconds longer than 15 minutes. With a boat ride, it's like, wait a minute, 30 seconds longer? It's a 15-minute and 30-second ride. How is this open? First of all, most of the queue is already outside. So that works in its favor. My guess, again, is that the boats tend to bunch up right before you return back to New Orleans Square out of the pirate world. There is a lift hill. Um, and then the boats bunch up again, right? So you go up the lift hill, kind of the backside of Blue Bayou. People don't realize that the backside, like the lift hill to return back to the New Orleans Square area, is actually by the Blue Bayou as well. So you're going like the back end of Blue Bayou, which I think is cool. But anyway, um, the boats tend to bunch up there. So my guess, in order to get it under 15 minutes, is that the ride capacity for Pirates, which is normally very good anyway, and they probably don't need all the boats that they would have on a busy Disneyland day running. They've probably taken some boats, extra boats, and put it into storage so that the boats don't bunch up to get it underneath that 15 minutes. That 15-minute period there. With some of the other rides like Matterhorn, I think the reason why it's open, like another refurbishment, is just to make sure that it's almost a 70-year-old roller coaster, or it's definitely over 60 years old. Excuse me, sorry, I thought I had a cough. So it's an old roller coaster. So all the parts have to be working order. So I think they're using this time to make sure, like, upgrade some aspects of it um, that they need to after a year of not being in operation. They don't need to upgrade the queue or anything. The queue is an outdoor queue. So that is not the issue here. Um, it's entirely outdoors. The queue, the load area, it is 100% outdoor. That is not the issue. I think the issue is just that's an old ride. Jungle Cruise is not in operation. They're taking its own route there. Um, with that, they're doing the cultural sensitivity retheming while the ride is still closed. So my guess is that Disneyland's Jungle Cruise will have the new overlay 100% completed before Disney World's. Whether or not they will officially open at the same time, I probably think not. I think they would open at Disneyland first. Disney World, they're keeping open because if you have one ride that's under a major refurbishment at that park right now, that is bad news because they're getting closer and closer to normal capacity. I think they're about 40, maybe even 50% capacity. And I think they're going to try to ramp this up even further to October to get as close to normal as they possibly can. With these reduced social distancing guidelines that Florida is saying that it's okay to, instead of 6 feet, 3 feet, increase ride capacities in general, they still can't afford to lose a major ride. So I think it's gonna be a longer process in Florida to retheme the Jungle Cruise. So that's why I think Disneyland, it'll open completely done, and we'll get a taste of what's going to happen in Florida. Now, of course, the rides are not the same. There are a few scenes that were exclusive to California. I believe there's only piranhas in California. Weird, cheap, fake piranhas, but it's you're not going there because of the quality of those piranhas. You're going there for the jokes. Florida has the Cambodian tunnel. So the rides are still going to be different, but all the scenes that we've seen so far are going to be the same scenes. So I don't know what the differences are going to be between the two rides. There has to be differences because of the fact that Florida has an indoor section. California, it's all outdoors. But yeah, I'm the other ride that's not open right now, which kind of, again, this shocked me a little bit, is Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, which is, again, Space Ranger spin, except targets are different shaped, and the different shapes have different points. Whereas Florida, they're all the same target, but depending on where the location, farther targets, smaller targets tend to be worth more points. Whereas the California one, triangles are worth X amount, their square targets worth X amount, and circle targets worth Y amount. Like the different shapes have different point values. Whereas Florida, it's like you don't know which point value is what, but you're just shooting around randomly. But different targets do, in fact, have different point values there. From what I understand, the California one, not all the targets worked. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to make sure that all the targets are in working order. Everything is basically show ready. But the majority of that queue is indoors. And California, again, the regulations, it has to be an outdoor queue. So I think at this point, they're trying to find the best way to queue for that ride. Because the Star Tours ride is right next to it as well. And you have to queue outdoors for that. So it's going to create a lot of congestion, a lot of gridlock in that area, especially when park capacities do increase. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Disneyland and and with that outdoor queue requirement, that when capacities do increase, virtual queuing might become the norm and not just for Rise of the Resistance. You might have to virtual queue for a few things, especially maybe around Fantasyland or Tomorrowland areas. All right, I've been talking for 1 hour. I wanted this to be a half-hour stream, but you know me, I just talk, 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 talk. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe, hit the subscribe button, that like button, comment, do all that. That's the whole standard YouTube spiel right there. I really do appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram. And I will see you guys real soon. Stay tuned, set your notifications. As you notice, I'm not really doing weekly streams. Ever since I came back from Florida, maybe once every other week. And I think that's probably going to be the norm, at least for the near term. So I'm just excited to be here with you this Saturday now afternoon. And I'll see you next time in Infinity and Beyond. Bye, everybody.